That's
Ah,
that's what the Highwayman Bandit guy
I'll see
made
if
me
I
think
can
of.
find my Halloween costume where I did that. Well, this is like, I have to wear a Halloween costume at work like all week for October or whatever, the week we do Halloween
S-
classes. So,
So I got this today, and I was thinking, God damn it, I love that fucking tracksuit from Star Trek 3,
yeah.
and I love Shatner's apartment in Star Trek 3. And had I had a little bit more, I don't know, foresight, I would have made had somebody make that or try to stitch it together for this party in Las Vegas this week.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah,
Love
occasionally
those.
those Trek movies had some great like one-off costumes.
Yeah,
And
and occasionally Chekhov gets stuck wearing a pink Sailor's Boy concert for 2 movies, which
looks like
somehow they must have replicated him something new on Vulcan because that got
yeah,
fixed.
yeah.
Let's see. Okay,
Well,
here we go.
man.
Sorry, I was looking at my really freaking bizarre Halloween costume just for funsies. This is from 2022, maybe? I can put down the chat. Where is the chat? There's the
Yeah.
chat.
Check.
Everything is changed in my Zoom. I don't know why.
Zoom changes. There we go. Here's my most confusing Halloween costume ever.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
So like
So wow. So Cookie Monster, Sailor, like almost like
Pirate
a
hat, yeah.
yeah, diff
I
pirate hat. I was
mean
thinking, what's
Oh,
the
like
yeah,
George Washington. You're like George Washington,
mask?
but from space, but with Cookie Monster.
Something like
That
that,
guy.
yes.
Well, yeah,
Alright.
it's not like the tri pointer George Washington was. Is that a Nerf gun or is that
Yeah.
shoot ping pong
That's a
balls or
Nerf
something?
gun.
Nerf
Is it
gun.
one of those really cool Nerf guns, like
It's
one
a
of the
Star
newer
Wars
ones with
Nerf gun.
have you guys looked into there's like a whole culture of like modding Nerf guns where you can get custom repeating modules and stuff like that to where you can get them to like fire, like 200 darts a minute,
That is
things
not
like that.
surprising. Whereas
Yeah, but
that one in the picture just jams all the time. It's not kind of worthless.
you
I
should
mean, I
start a
guess it
new
looks
hobby
cool.
of trying to mod your Nerf gun to
Yeah,
make
I'm
it
not.
really,
Yeah, I'm not
really,
going to do
really,
that.
really, really, really
I'm
fancy.
not going to do that.
No, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. There's the picture Brian has. You gotta lean over a little bit, brother.
Oh yeah,
Show us a little, see a
Ah,
there
little
we
bit of the
go.
very nice.
yeah,
Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
Actually, I thought it
Was
was
that
more
like
fun when
fucking
you had.
speed buggy or some shit like
it's
that he's
not a
driving?
solarium, but it's the next best thing
I
to a
was waiting for him to
solarium.
go,
I thought it was
come
more
on,
fun when you
Nick.
had the Nick
Come
Cage
on,
stuff. To
Alan.
be
Let's
honest.
get this guy.
That had a lot of it. We're gonna have to talk about that on the episode. That had a lot of implications. How suddenly there was a woman there who had no like, there was no creature with them. It was nobody. The woman just was conjured. Like they just
The
imagined. Anyway,
Conjuring. Hey, Mark, your
anyway.
screen's really
I don't
floaty,
know.
by
I
the
don't
way.
know, Mark. I can conjure quite a bit.
Uh
Oh, it just does that. Okay.
oh, the thing is, my streaming. The first thing that went wrong was my streaming software like wouldn't recognize the camera, and that was what I was using to zoom in. And what my green screen is a circle.
Right.
So basically, and it's still not working, so I'm not going to go back to using it. I don't know. I had like some kind of catastrophic USB problems
Okay.
and that
Oh,
hopefully do not replicate. I think I just have plugged in a lot of new shit to my computer trying to make my one computer my computer for everything, so it's like revolting against me and trying to turn
Jack
things
of all
off.
trades and master of none.
I still have
Yeah.
I still have one computer behind this computer, but I don't really use that one anymore. So I guess I'm finally set on this one for the most part.
Should
Well,
probably retire this computer and get something better.
I mean, I'm assuming you guys may or may not already know this, but like the default behavior for USB devices in Windows is there's a box that is checked that says allow the computer to turn this off to save power. And that will fuck you if you plug in like, you know, over 4 or 5 things.
Oh,
So you
okay.
have to turn it off if you're going to be like a maniac like I am and have a bunch of things plugged in. Then,
I don't have
um,
that many ththings plugged in, so
yeah, I
uh,
like moved all my music equipment over here. So there's like 4 more things
hmm.
that are very, yeah, it'll be
Oh,
fine.
by the
Maybe.
way, for you guys, maybe this time next week's actually fine. So my schedule turned out
Uh,
insane, but not as insane as usual.
Monday. Yeah, I got
What are
that.
we, what are we getting down to here?
What is it? Dorzak?
No, the Seance Spectre.
Seance Spectre.
Oh yeah, the last Xenia Merton episode, I think.
Is it? Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I guess we should do this episode.
Okay, just a sec. Okay. Here we go. Welcome to podcast 1999, the episode.
It's an episode, all right. It's
No,
two
no,
episodes.
no.
It's 2 episodes of Space
It's-
1999. I picked up your ball, man. Aren't you happy?
Yeah. The longest episode of this podcast ever to go with 2 episodes of the series.
You don't know that yet. You don't know that yet.
It's my
Guessing.
longest. It's the most anyone's gonna have to hear me talk.
Okay.
Quit jumping the timeline, man.
All right.
Reality. Jump in the timeline of reality. Who's here?
I'm Mark.
I'm Brian.
I am
I'm
Matt.
Mike.
He's
You're
Mike.
Matt,
I'm Mike.
and
I'm Mike now.
and with us, special guests from Mission Log, the Orville, and Talking Ted podcasts. It's Mike Richards.
Hello, thanks for having me. Sorry to interrupt you, Matt.
No,
I was
that's cool.
sort of
You
going-
got
I was sort of going in the
great
order on
introduction.
my Zoom
Yeah.
screen, which means nothing to you and your Zoom screen. So it made perfect sense for the guest to jump in before the host of the show. So I
I
apologize
think the
for
guests
that.
should jump in before they're introduced. That's. I honestly think that's a hallmark of good podcasting when that happens.
Also,
You know
fresh from
what we
San
do
Diego
here.
Comic Con, right, Mike?
Yep.
I did. Got out there Thursday. Met up with John Champion, Holly Amos, Larry Nemechek, and co-panelist on the Orville was Lise Hargraves from Phoenix Development. She's a game developer as well as other things. So we grabbed a quick bite Thursday night. Other folks had invitation to high-end industry parties. I sadly did not. So I went back to my hotel and went to the pool and drank and hung out in the jacuzzi, and it was glorious. Friday was the panel. Very nice. Produced by Justin Toney. And he did a nice job. Very laid back, very professional, very well organized. Just chatted about the Orville, and it wasn't really about season 4 per se or an announcement or anything. Just sort of like what, the name of the title was Things Left Unsaid. So the idea was, okay, what needs to be tied up? What would we like to see tied up or revisited in a potential season 4? So we chatted about that. Good audience participation, and it was fun, man. It really was. I hope I get a chance to do it again.
Nice.
So
Righty-o.
no breaking news, huh?
Yeah.
You don't have any
Nope.
big news for us today. Ah, darn.
No breaking news. I did double check with our contacts at the Orville in production, and they were like, "Hey, man, just you can say exactly what's true, which is Disney picked up season 4 of the Orville, but sadly by then Seth had already signed a deal with Universal Content Production, which is NBC Universal's production arm, to create content for Peacock as well as for NBC. So there's a number of projects that have slid to the right, been postponed because of the pandemic and the writer's strike and the actor's strike. Once those things are done, at that point, they'd be free to. They have a carve out in their contract to revisit the Orville at that time. So, without saying the source, that's what I was told it was okay to say.
So they did not bring Wonder this time around.
No, they just left us wondering. We brought the wonder. We
it
brought
was
the
not
wonder.
WonderCon. It was Comic Con.
Yeah.
So.
We brought the wonder. They did not bring any answers, but it was still fun, man. It was really nice to see some folks there that have been lifelong Trek fans that sort of, not that there was necessarily a binary fork in the road, but in 2017 when Discovery premiered on actually premiered on CBS, but when it premiered then rolled over to Paramount Plus, that there was other folks that kind of went the Orville route, but both of those things became available basically at the same time. And some folks really feel like the Orville was more of what they were looking for in their future global perspectivist sci-fi episodes.
Still no return of the Space 1999, which Mark wants to show run and remake.
Yes, for sure. Let's do it. Everyone is Koenig is screaming all the time. Maya is turning into things. She's turning into
Constantly.
lamps.
There actually is no committed actor to her character.
No actor. She forgets what she looks like. Just like, well, actually, I guess I plagiarized that from The Boys. Oh well. Anyway, this week we're talking about The Bringers of Wonder parts 1 and 2, and that's why this podcast has to be really long, because we're going over 2 episodes in one. I know our friends at Mission Log will sort of do judgment call on that, and we decided in this case, yes, this is 1 episode, and we were right. This is 1 episode, right?
With a
You guys-
great
you guys
freeze
agree?
frame. With a great freeze frame
Oh, yeah.
dividing them.
A great freeze frame dividing them, which is just immediately undone in the first 5 seconds of part 2, which is just 70s TV. That's how it works.
And it was a freeze frame that I think lasted almost 600 days, but
Mhm.
maybe we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Absolutely, probably the most shocking and stark moment of season 2. Just that, oh, this thing is just going to eat Koenig, and then it ends. and then he doesn't. Anyway, like I said earlier, I'm about to talk for a long time. So this is so here's the trivia.
Get your popcorn.
Get your popcorn. Get your slime monster. Get your spaghetti. 17th and 18th in production order for season 2. This was the only 2-parter in the entire series. The script was originally written by Terrence Feely. This was his only contribution to the series besides this season's new Adam, New Eve. Feely was annoyed by Fred Freiberger's rewrite. In his original version, the viewer would have been unaware of the true appearance of the aliens until the end of part 1. And also, Maya would have turned into a python in the hallway fight instead of a kendo warrior. Tom Clegg directed these episodes. You last saw his work on Journey to Where, and he'll be back for 2 more this season, including the season/series finale. This week is the final appearance of Jeffrey Kassoon as Dr. Ben Vincent, as well as the final appearance of Albert Pahernick, the Maya transformation guy. He's playing lizard animal here. And the final appearance of the Moon Buggy, which we've barely seen this season anyway. As for our cast, I'll try to keep this brief, but this has more guest stars than probably every other episode in the series. More credited guest stars, that is. David Jackson returns to do the voice over of the alien voice. You might remember him as the voice of Rules of Luton and as Alien Strong from that episode. Stuart Damon. So maybe, I don't know, maybe these are also the Luton aliens coming back. Who knows? Stuart Damon guest as the fake Guido Verdeschi. You might also remember him from a brief guest spot in season 1's Matter of Life and Death as Parks. I checked and I did not do a spot on him for the trivia back then. So here we are. He was born in 1937 in New York to Russian Jewish immigrants. That's right, just like Tony Anholt, not remotely Italian. He had a long career, and much like most of the guests on the show, he was a fixture in British TV in the 60s and 70s and appeared on 1 episode of UFO. He later gravitated back towards the States and towards soap operas and appeared in a staggering 1,625 episodes of General Hospital. He retired in 2013 and passed away in 2021 at the age of 84. As the alien impersonating Dr. Shaw, we have Patrick Westwood. He was born in 1924 in King Swinford, West Midlands, UK. He had a very long career in both TV and film, spanning half a century. You could see him in A Gunman Has Escaped, Up the Elephant and Round the Castle, Breakaway, no relation, and the season 2 Twilight Zone episode, The Whole Truth. He retired around 2003 and passed away in 2017 at the age of 92. We have Nicholas Young as the imposter version of Peter Rockwell. He was born in 1949 and went from education at the Corona Stage School to many onstage roles in television versions of stage plays. But also you can see him in The Walrus and the Carpenter, Horror House, and The Day of the Jackal. But most notably, he was the only cast member to appear in every episode of kids' sci-fi show The Tomorrow People. He seems to have retired in the early 2000s, but is still with us today. As the alien pretending to be Diana Morris, we have Toby Robbins, a Canadian actress born in 1931. She settled in the UK and had a mostly British career. You can see her in For Your Eyes Only, Game for Three Losers, and The Naked Runner. She tragically passed away in 1986 from breast cancer, and the Toby Robbins Breast Cancer Research Center is named after her. Cher Cameron plays the fake Louisa. Unfortunately, the only info that IMDb has on her is that she also played Black Velvet in 1974's The Stud, which looks like it was probably a comedy, not a porn. Comedy. Drew Henley, that's Drewe, plays the real Joe Ehrlich. Ehrlich. Born in 1940 in the UK, he had a short career in TV and film, and in fact, this was his second to last credit. His last being in Star Wars as Red Leader, the guy who says almost there, while failing to blow up the Death Star. He then retired from acting after being diagnosed with manic depression and ran a bed and breakfast in Devon, England until he passed away in 2016. As the real Jack Bartlett, we have Jeremy Young, an actor of Scottish ancestry born in Liverpool in 1934. He made his theatrical debut in Hamlet at the Birmingham Repertory Theatre and built plenty of stage experience that translated to plenty of TV and film experience, mostly in British productions. You can see him in God's Wonderful Railway, Sudden Terror, and My Partner the Ghost. And notably, he was the last surviving cast member from the very first episode of Doctor Who, in which he played a caveman. He passed away in 2022. Earl Robinson guessed as the real Sandstrom, not Sandstorm. That's Sandstrom. He had a short on-screen career, and this was his first credit, followed by Bring 'Em Back Alive, The Professionals, and Antony and Cleopatra in 82, 83, and 84. That's it. That's his resume. And that's it for the trivia.
What's it for the story?
Okay, this is even longer.
Oh, God.
Part 1. Koenig is piloting an eagle and seems to have gone bananas. He laughs hysterically and almost flies into the nuclear waste zone before briefly realizing what was happening and then crashing onto the moon's surface. He is rushed to medical, where Helena has him hooked up to an experimental device called an Ellendorf quadrographic brain complex and expects him to make a full recovery. Meanwhile, a super swift that appears to be from Earth docks on Alpha, which turns out to contain Tony's brother, Sandra's fiance, Helena's mentor, Alan's friend, Dr. Vincent's fiance, and Koenig's ex. Or does it? After everyone spends some time learning about Earth's new technological achievements and also mingling and all hitting on each other's partners and friends, Dr. Vincent sees that something is wrong with Koenig and then has to prevent Sandstrom, who seems to be under some kind of control, from killing Koenig, who's still unconscious. Later, Koenig does come to, and he seems fine, but after being told about the super swift from Earth, he goes to greet the visitors, and to his horror, he sees disgusting aliens. He tries to shoot them, but is stunned by Helena, and everyone assumes that Koenig saw what he saw due to his ongoing mental issues. Meanwhile, Kander has locked himself in the records room, burning everything inside. Maya is able to get him out by turning into a creature from some sort of lagoon, but he still dies from his injuries. Meanwhile, Tony has drawn random names for 3 people to take the first flight back to Earth, but he reads different names that are on the cards, seemingly under some sort of mind control. The names he reads are Bartlett, Ehrlich, and Carter. The 3 seem to be on their way to Earth when Dr. Shaw visits the unconscious Sandstrom and plants a directive in his mind. He comes to and attacks Tony, but Maya is able to turn into a kendo fighter and knock him out. Again. Meanwhile, Koenig comes to in medical and sees a hideous alien approaching him. Part 2. Helena and Maya visit Koenig in medical as Dr. Shaw leaves, and he's able to convince them that he is right about the aliens with logical arguments about how unlikely it is that people they know would all be together and not hundreds of years old. Helena hooks Maya up to the brain complex to give her the same treatment as Koenig to see if it allows her to see the things as they are, and it works. She sneaks around after transforming into one of the creatures herself, but they spot her, and she narrowly escapes. Maya has discovered that the creatures need radiation to live, in the type of quantity that would be generated by an explosion, and Koenig realizes that the astronauts headed to fake Earth are actually headed towards the moon's nuclear waste domes. He tries to head out in a moon buggy, but is stopped by a mind-controlled Tony and brought back to medical again. Maya and Helena break him out, and they plan to use white noise to wake up the minds of the other Alphans. They succeed, but Carter, Ehrlich, and Bartlett are still under the aliens' control. John, Tony, and Maya head to the moon's surface to stop them. Koenig tries to stop the brainwashed crew's moon buggy, but they see him as a bandit and attack him. Maya turns into an extremely large monster to help even the odds, but Carter and Bartlett still manage to escape. Meanwhile, Helena releases gas to knock out everyone else on Alpha so their brainwaves can't be used by the aliens for energy. John is able to talk Bartlett down, but he has to punch Alan and knock him out. The aliens tell Koenig that he could have been happy, but he says it's better to live as your own man than as a fool in someone else's dream. The aliens vanish, and the Alphans can start waking everyone up, except Koenig, who just fell asleep. The end.
All right. I guess we can go straight to sci-fi analogies. I was thinking, how great would They Live had been if Rowdy Piper had a 15-minute fist fight with one of these guys.
Yes, I was so delighted when the aliens were revealed. I was like, these are so fun. I laughed a lot. They're just like oozing green ooze and blood and just have eyeballs.
And there's like
here and
30 of
there.
them.
Yeah, well, a lot of those were cutouts. There were
They had,
seemingly only 3 actual ones, but
had a similarity to Daleks in that they seem like they're easily outrun. In fact, that was the slowest chase through the corridors moonbase alpha I'd ever seen.
yes.
When Maya was revealed as looking like them but not being of them, and they were running down the hallway, I was thinking the same thing, man. I was like, this is so funny. A little bit of props to the episode though, man. I remember seeing this in first run. As probably the elder statesman of the group, and to me, this was like the okay, and these were the it was like the epic. It was like the cinematic 2-hour event. You know what I mean? It was like, to me, this had me. And when I look at how early on it was revealed that these folks were aliens, man, I tell you what, the feeling that I had, because it was the first time I watched it as an adult, was not recently. It was probably a few years ago. But when I was a kid, the feeling I remember was that it felt like they were getting home. Like there was a real chance that they were getting home, and they got the rug pulled out from under them. And then I watched it recently, and I'm like, oh man, they kind of let you know the cat was out of the bag pretty early in this episode. But I just remembered as being this, as from my experience as a kid, of just being like this cinematic marvel, of filmmaking and storytelling. And I think spoiler alert, I'm going to kind of view it through that lens here in quite a few ways as we go forward. But yeah, they did not run well at all. Not a lot of kinetic energy,
no.
I think, was the reason.
They had to keep showing Maya looking frustrated so that there was some tension in that scene. So it was like, because otherwise it would have just looked like little aliens shuffling. But still, no, Mike, I agree that I loved this episode, these episodes. I feel like this gave the show just enough time to breathe that they were able to weave a couple of things in. And it's weird me saying this. It's like, a lot of people probably would say it was hard to justify an hour-long show like this, but it's like it works better at 2 hours. So I don't know. I think.
Yeah, I think there was. I wonder how it would have compared to the to that original cast, because I did not know anything about what you said before about how the writer didn't agree with the rewrite. And I mean, Freddie Freiberger, I mean, with his record, you can't go wrong, right? You got to go with what Freddie tells you to do.
Yeah.
So,
I
and if
agree.
he says reveal the monsters, reveal the monsters.
It would have been, I think it would have been more effective because of how stark that end of episode 1 was. It would have been more effective if they were revealed only then, but they were probably just like, well, people are going to be bored, so let's just give them some monsters.
They got to get their money's worth out of those costumes.
I can see why they don't want to wrangle a python on set, but the kendo thing was also very baffling. Like, does she learn? Could she turn into anything and learn the skills? Because she
turns into the monster to learn the intentions, right? So apparently there's something more than just looking like it.
Okay, but I think it's the first time that I've noticed anyway, or that I remember, of her turning into a thing with clothes and a mask and a helmet and a weapon. Yeah. Right. So does she become the clothes and the helmet and the weapon as well?
Yeah, I think the weapon is a flesh weapon.
That's one way of putting it. Yeah, I guess.
Sometimes the wooden sword is just a wooden sword.
Well, sometimes she seems to follow Odo rules of transformation, and other times not so much.
Odo follows Maya rules,
Yeah.
huh?
Oh, I guess
Yeah.
you're
The,
right.
the other funny thing is just for my weird tandem viewing, because I watched Friday night I watched part 1, Saturday night I watched part 2, and then to keep up with main mission log I watched Voyager's Bliss, which is the exact same story as this.
Mm.
So that was kind of
That's a
weird.
weird.
Like I wasn't expecting that because I don't
Now
think
I
I'd
gotta go
seen that
watch
one
it.
before, and I'm just like, this is the same story as Bringers of Wonder, even with the like hallucinating like a better place stuff.
Well, you
I'll
know,
have to tell everyone
the
on Discord to watch this now.
well, like we've said before, Voyager has a similar the ship of Voyager has a similar problem to Moonbase Alpha. They're just
No, it
have
was just
a lot
weird
of
to
different
stumble into like
problems.
the exact same storyline
Yeah.
this the next
Yeah.
night, you know. I mean, both
Oh,
are
that's the
good, but
pitcher
yeah.
plant one. Okay, because I never remember the episode titles are always just one word and like, oh, pitcher plant episode. Yes, that is.
Okay, there we go.
Did
No,
it have
Bring-
one big
Yeah.
eye? Did the plant have one big eye?
I
don't
think the
we-
plant. No,
I
it
don't
wasn't
think we
as
got the
cool
one big
looking as
eye.
this.
That would have
And was it
been
more
icing on the
fun?
cake.
Was it less fun, as much fun, or the same amount of fun as burning grandma's wig? That's really the question.
See, I'm going to say that this is 70s fun and that was 90s fun, you know. You can have nostalgia for different eras and have different kinds of fun at this point. That's part of the charm of vintage sci-fi in particular.
100%. You know what I mean? You don't go to Voyager for like the rock and bass riff and the, you know, and the disco scoring that you got at this episode, which honestly, I freaking loved the score in this episode.
Mhm.
Which is repurposed. It is interesting how well you can repurpose stuff sometimes. And
Yeah, it's
this
from
coming
other
from
episodes.
Space Warp and the Metamorph. I
Space
don't
Warp
know.
had some good action music in it.
Yeah,
It was like the last
too
score that was
much.
composed for the
Yeah,
series.
it was like
Yeah,
too
it's
much. Well, too much for Mark, if I remember correctly.
Well, there was one episode where they kept playing One Piece over and over and over and over again, and that didn't happen here, as I could recall.
Yeah, like that has not bugged me much in Space 1999, even at this point where it's mostly reused scores. I mean, I did the Twilight Zone in season 4 or 5. They're all reused scores. They don't do original ones for that anymore, you know?
Well, the good thing about reusing scores is if you have all these scores to choose from, then you can pull from a bunch of different places and make it a playlist.
I guess I think I've said before, but the only shit that really starts to grate on me when it's just the same music over and over again, it's Mission Impossible, which, you know, love the show, but there's one theme that they just always play. It sounds a little not the theme music. It's in the episodes, which is kind of their like, it sounds a little bit like Klingon music or something, but because I guess you got the same composers bopping around, but they always play that, and it's a good piece, but they just like horribly overuse it. Where I don't know, a funk disco track, you can play that for me as many times as you want, and I'm probably fine.
And if it's good, it kind of has that conditioned response to it. You know, it's like the in Star Trek. You know, like
Yeah.
you know that's coming. It kind of automatically gets your adrenaline up. You know, if it's good, and like I said, if you've seen it enough to, you know, for it to have that, you know, trained conditioned response with you, then you know, like, okay, stuff's about to get real.
Yeah, and I brought
Yeah.
over on the Twilight Zone
Bongos.
podcast with the Bard, and I was like, I kind of put my finger on not my well, this is my opinion, of course, but the thing that's really wrong with that episode is the music, because someone gives a monologue and they say a line do 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 boop boop, and then they say another line do 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 boop boop boop, and then they say something like every line they say is punctuated by like zany music, and that drove me insane. So Space
Yeah.
1999, I mean this. Well, yeah, season 1 is of course the classier soundtrack, but this one's more for you know, the dance floor, I guess. I mean, I got the theme song stuck in my head on the regs now, you know.
I like it.
So-
You know, it's not the opening theme is like, it's not unusual, but for action, you know, but
Radio.
yeah, all of it.
So I watched 2 parts. I watched both parts back to back, and when I got from part 1 to part 2, I did not skip the ending credits, and I did not skip the opening credits, because I will never skip the opening or the closing credits on Space 1999 ever, because they are
That's
that
funny.
I mean,
because
yeah.
John said he will
Yeah.
never skip the opening credits. on season 1, but he'll always skip the opening credits on season
Really?
2.
See, I even
Season
think season 2 is good.
yeah.
And I like the season 2 no nonsense aspect of it. It's just okay. It's kind of like, okay, we all know why we're here. In case you forgot, here's this little primer for you. But yeah, I think I do like the season 2 openers as well.
My only problem with the season 2 opener is like you have great effect shots of the moon moving away from Earth. Why are you doing this still image thing? You know, I don't
Yeah,
like
and-
that. Otherwise, I'm cool with the season 2 credits.
And like I've said before, I would skip the openings of season 1 because they had spoilers in them the first time I watched the episodes. Now, from here on, I won't.
Those were
but,
teases. You're supposed to tease you,
Counterpoint,
and
you
you
are
gotta
wrong.
stick around for this one because you'll see
I
this
have-
monster.
I've grown into a person who I want to go into everything blind as possible.
No,
I haven't seen it. I wouldn't have watched a trailer for anything that I want. I haven't watched a Wolverine Deadpool trailer by choice.
I went to see that last
tomorrow.
night. I went to see it last night, and I'm going to tell you everything. No, what I will say is that
could
I
guess.
knew nothing about the movie going into it. I am so glad I knew nothing about the movie going into it, and it was just it was a rip roaring good time. So
Yeah, I'm going
Cool.
tomorrow night, and the only thing I've seen so far is just Jackman's yellow suit. That's all I know about the movie. So
Yeah. Yeah.
So I should go and enjoyably blind for that.
Yeah. Well, I've got my Thursday ticket because his life is complicated.
So I noticed something on top of Koenig's helmet after he crashed. Do they have an eagle replicator on Moonbase Alpha? Can they replicate those? Can they mine material? Has that ever been covered?
They are mining
Eagles?
material, and we did see their giant hangar a few episodes ago. So
And we for sure have seen eagles destroyed, and then other eagles show up with the same number, the same designation.
And that
Okay.
particular helmet had a camera on it, Matt.
I was wondering if that was camera or a flashlight or what that was.
It was used in one episode as kind of a GoPro, point of view body cam sort of thing, and then never used again. But he still had it on his helmet, so I guess he's stuck with it now.
Yeah, good.
I never noticed before that they or I don't know if this is a new thing where the flight crew have a patch that says eagle and then the number of the eagle and then the word eagle again. So the one guy had a patch that said eagle to eagle, where I was like, that sounds like if Sam the Eagle had a TV show. It's like
with other eagles, he talks to other
Yeah.
eagles. Eagle
Yep.
to eagle.
He
one eagle
only
to another
talks
eagle.
I
to
love that.
other eagles.
I fly the eagle. What eagle do you fly? I fly eagle 2. Eagle.
Yeah.
I'm an eagle pilot. Eagle 2 eagle.
That'd be like, that would be what happened though. Is like these guys have been in space for years. They would just start just making TV shows where eagle pilots would go on and just talk about the stuff that happened to them. That would absolutely happen.
I guess moving through my notes, I just had like Koenig, he's flying like Harrison Ford at the beginning of this.
Yeah.
Oh, Harrison Ford, the actor.
There are angels everywhere. That was my favorite line, I think.
Isn't Ford notorious for
Yeah.
crashing like 3 planes at this point or something?
There,
I know there was. I know it's more than 0.
Yeah, it's more than once. I know it's more than once. So I feel like 3 is the magic number, as De La Soul would say, but
Mhm.
or Sesame
Yeah.
Street, or whatever it was from.
great, great, intense Martin Landau in a lot of these episodes.
Anyway, mark a -1 on the Eagles if you're keeping the list. So there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I will say this sequence, the disco here was so fast. I actually checked my video to see if I had if the playback speed was up, but no, it's just like super fast disco, like very energetic disco. Yeah.
Yep.
And does anybody else want an Ellendorf quadraphonic brain massage?
Yeah,
Because that sounds awesome.
Well, I have a mind machine. Maybe it's
I
the
thi-
same thing.
I think if you did that, then you would, you might go to C-SPAN and then see a bunch of reptilians on the TV.
There's
Right?
plenty of
Like
people
that.
do that. Plenty of people
They
do
would
that.
just be like an ASMR machine that just pumps ASMR into you.
I can't help but just think that it would make you see something. Well,
No,
maybe
it's-
it'd just be like you just would look at like somebody who you work with, and they would just suddenly appear very incompetent. Just like, oh no, actually, I've been carrying a lot of your weight
Yeah.
at work.
Anyway, yeah, electronic brain massage would be so great an album title. I imagine it already is one somewhere. It has to be.
There is a VR application called Mind Massage Machine that I have not used yet.
I subscribe to a binaural beats podcast. Oh wait, that's you, Matt.
Yeah. So that's who's listening to that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm waiting for episode 4, man. It's not...
It's 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. I have them set for every 2 weeks. Let's see, where were we? Oh yeah, the Super Swift. I was willing to buy it. Could be like the first Warp 5 engine, you know?
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. Yep.
Although that's the thing. The argument, well, it would be 100 years past on Earth, is a very good argument that the show doesn't make any sense out of. I mean, they already know they've done Journey Aware, but they're getting mind controlled anyway, so whatever. They don't.
Yeah, I guess the idea is that they're going so fast that they're experiencing some relativistic effects. And I guess it's already shown that they've passed through some, or discussed that they've passed through some, wormholes or time warps and things like that.
But as we saw in Death's Other Dominion, or no, whatever was last, the Brian Blessed one. I mean, those guys.
Death's Other Dominion, yes.
They had gone 900 years into the past, so you can warp into the past in Space 1999.
Yeah, and I also love
relativity.
And have we hit the episode yet where Konig's like, I know it doesn't make any sense.
I'm pretty sure I've heard that line more than once. I heard Barry Moore say it a lot last season. I know that.
Yeah. Koenig was trying to explain how they got where they got and their current mode of transportation, and he was like, I know it doesn't make any sense. And we're like, we know it doesn't make any sense.
Now I want to know which episode that is.
That makes me think it might be Collision Course, but I'm not sure because that didn't make any sense. What he did. Yeah, I
really like the Super. Oh, I'm sorry. I really like the Super Swift, but I was hoping there would be a Super Brian on board.
Oh well, maybe next time. So what was Sandra doing with Paul Morrow last season?
Whatever she wants.
Apparently she had a fiance at home.
Well, San had a fiance at home. I guess Sandra did not.
Sandra or San. Oh. Well, which one are we talking about? I'm confused now.
That's where I'm trying to give her an out there.
Well, it's kind of like, Janeway had Mark back home, but, that didn't stop her from.
And I do love that. Okay, Tony's Italian, so his brother is Guido. Of course he is.
Guido. Mama's going to make you some spaghetti. I didn't take down all the lines. So it was definitely like a pile of spaghetti the size of your head.
Oh, and Mama was like a QAnon conspiracist because she just said, I don't believe any of this happened. So how does she explain the moon being gone? I don't know.
She said the scientists were talking out of their navels.
Yes.
I actually did. I did take it down. Mama's making you a pile of pasta the size of Vesuvius. There you go. The most Italian thing we can write.
And he really throws the accent in there, Stuart Damon, with the size of Vesuvius.
Yeah.
With apologies to any young Guidos out there, but I feel like that's a name that's like not really in use. It's just like there's always like a certain list of names that are just not in the current vernacular for baby naming.
I don't think, at least not since Father Guido Sarducci has been.
Are you saying it's kind of a typecast sort of name? You want to use that name?
No. But I mean, in Italy, it's like Joe.
It's like Jimmy, maybe.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking like if you're, like in America, you would not name your kid. I'll apologize. You name your kid Guido. It's fine.
This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go into my Facebook account and hit the name Guido and see how many I have with mutual friends.
Okay.
1, 2. Well, that doesn't mean that it's their actual name. So I guess somebody could use that.
Yeah, they could be. Maybe they're doing a Space 1999 reference because they love the Bringers of Wonder.
That's true. Only like 5 or 6. So.
Okay. There's a few Guidos
not
out
popular.
There. Okay.
This one's for all you Guidos out there. That doesn't sound good.
This is another time where they know enough about Earth that they know that Earth is like, basically screwed after they leave, which we learned this season, Journey to Where. So Fred Freiberger did see that episode, but they're still just overjoyed to go to an apocalyptic wasteland.
Also, the director of this directed Journey to Where. So maybe he was like, hey, maybe you should, since I directed this other episode that contradicts this, maybe we should put a couple of things in to acknowledge that we at least know that it contradicts that episode, which doesn't come up until Koenig's like, well, you guys are mind controlled. You didn't know.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I wrote continuity's not doing her job this week, but I guess that was all mind control. They were just confused because their brains were, it made
I
Alan
mean,
Carter really horny.
you want a good hand wave? They were all under mind control. I'm satisfied with that. There's been way less satisfying hand waves
Yeah.
than that.
It explains why they landed in New York City, but somehow ended up in, the woods outside Pinewood Studio again when they went
Yeah,
when they went,
landing your
dune
la-
buggying.
yeah, landing your spacecraft in the middle of Manhattan is objectively insane. Like that is so
Central
like they
Park.
just
They got a
had
park
I
there.
was I was
I
just glad
don't
that they
know.
rebuilt the original World Trade Center by the time they got back. That was amazing.
They were they were in the
Oh,
process of it.
1999.
Oops, that's a little stock footage thing they're just gonna have to live with from now on.
1999. It's fine.
Yeah. That's a good
Let's see
point.
what
Yeah.
medical. I got notes there that we got. It looks like they're running like an AOL CD-ROM in medical this week, which is kind of interesting. Like it's futuristic, but like the wrong kind of futuristic. Like the future that didn't come that Mark's obsessed with, that sort of thing.
I mean, the future that didn't come that Mark's obsessed with is this entire show, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I did they have Koenig's brain running on that Fragile Girl synthetic heart from a few episodes ago?
Maybe.
I feel like that might have been the same prop, which whatever. It can be.
I feel like they peeled the medical log recorder sticker off and put on the brain massage sticker and then plugged that machine into Koenig.
Yeah,
because
I mean
it's the
like
same prop.
yeah, it's like how there's the alien tech from Space Warp, and then it just starts showing up like in various parts of Alpha as like normal, a normal tool.
That would be kind of cool. I've had alien tech to start getting integrated into Alpha here and there, just because it's there. All those spaceships, like they hauled back that whole spaceship from Space Warp that they use. Did they use any of that tech? I don't know.
Like honestly, now you're
No.
talking like that. Like that's the kind of thing that would actually, in a more modern serialized version of the show, you would probably see,
Voyager.
those things getting folded in.
I mean, Voyager
point-
could have been interesting. Voyager was already interesting for 7 seasons, but like them salvaging tech and using Borg tech really put it over the top. We're like that is all the serialization I even really needed from that show. Is that yes, use stuff you find, and this show is not. But I don't know. Like
there's
like
a happy
we've said-
medium,
Like we said, if Brian the Brain was hooked up and just became a regular character and was insulting everyone all the time, would be really fun.
Uncle Tabor next door. Yeah.
Yeah, just start adding people. Like do Maya, but just keep doing that. Just keep adding people.
I would say from a pilot point of view, just going back a little bit, I had a lot of respect for Commander Koenig's ability to pilot that Eagle so deftly within the confines of a 4x3 view screen. Like that was legit.
What makes
That was
me
some
think
serious simulation.
it's
He
like
was
the
insane.
Epcot ride, the Mission Space one, where the whole ride is you're looking at basically the screen the size of a DS while they're spinning you around, and then you get sick of it when you walk out. So, if anyone's been on that,
Mike,
one.
what do they call that? Fly by wire when you're on a.
I think fly by
Yes.
wire is like
Yeah, so fly-by-wire is basically electronic flight controls, right? So it's the stick movement or control wheel movement goes to a computer, then the computer sends electronic signals to the the actuators or the hydraulics to make the controls move. Whereas fly-by cable is kind of more traditional, just the cables kind of drive either the controls
Oh,
themselves.
okay. So it's really
the
solved
hydraulic
within the plane.
actuators.
I thought it was a
Yeah.
reference to remote controlling. Well, it makes it easier to remote control a plane.
Yeah.
I imagine if it's on
And I was
fly-by-wire.
also thinking, because they did the remote control thing in Breakaway, where they're like, yeah, I don't want to send a person there because, waste disposal site too. But we'll remote control this thing. And then you see Paul just kind of like wailing on the stick, like, I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, for this one, I was like, man, they should just take this thing over. And they did. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out the aliens at some point said they were trying to kill Koenig at the beginning. Like, what does he have a
Right.
reputation or something? They want to get rid of him first.
He's
Because
hard
they
to
made
kill,
him go-
man.
He's
He's
always
a
right.
strong
supposedly
leader.
made him go nuts.
Yeah.
But then I thought, well, maybe they're trying to get him to crash into the domes and explode. But then later they say, no, you need an atomic core to make the waste explode. So there was a little disconnect in how the story is supposed to play out. It's just an excuse to get Koenig on that machine.
Oh, that was
So
just
then
an
he can-
excuse to
Yeah.
get. That was just an excuse
Yeah.
to get Diana back on screen so they could play the bow chicka, wow wow whatever Diana's theme they had playing whenever she came on.
over there. What do you call that?
MILFs on the moon or whatever, cougars on the moon. I don't know what she's supposed to be.
And did they
inner
decide
boob?
that it was that they picked folks based on like Moonbase Alpha records or based on like what Alphans were thinking about?
Implies that they read their brains, even
I
coming.
think
Yeah.
it was guys who were able to access the nuclear area, and I don't know if they had clearance and that's why, or because they knew how to do it
It's got the
and they
skill
were
set.
using their.
Yeah, I was just
Which is
wondering
really
if
weird.
John was thinking of Diana a lot and how that was going to go over with his, new new Alphan,
John,
I mean,
was
partner.
he at the forefront of your thoughts all the time?
I could have dealt with a Diana Helena like knockdown drag out fight. They just didn't go there. But that could have had that. I
No
could have
cat
enjoyed
fight
that.
for you. Okay.
No.
We never see any of the
unfortunately.
aliens actually fight anybody. They're just standing around
I
talking.
don't think they can. They don't have arms.
That's the point. Yeah.
No.
I kind of
And
and also
make you think you're fighting someone, but they can't do it themselves.
Well, yeah,
granted,
there's obvious. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say they obviously are capable of simulating physical contact of all types.
Facts.
And mentally.
Right.
The thing, and once you like I said, once you go with the mind control thing, you can hand wave a lot, but as we saw what the aliens looked like versus the humans they were simulating, I was like, how are they all in a room without just like bumping into people? Because they would just kind of like step around one person and talk to the next, like you said, to just hit on each other's partners. And it's like, wouldn't you have to take a wider berth around somebody than you thought? But mind control.
Well, it's like, I don't know, Tokyo Station get real crowded, but you walk through and it's like you're a ghost. You like never hit anyone, I guess, because everyone's walking around, efficiently. They do it all the time.
Now I want to take all these scenes with human actors and CGI in the aliens and have them interact with the CGI aliens in the manner you just described. That would be hilarious.
I mean, I for sure have sympathy for whoever had to wear these costumes because, for one thing, there were no LEDs in the 70s. This is clearly a large, like heavy costume that is just outfitted with tons of incandescent lights. It's probably very hot, very heavy, and very stuffy.
You could fit a fan in there.
I don't think so. Well, maybe that's why they're so big, is because you have to have a fan in there or the people die. That is very, that's a maybe so I know there was like something in the trivia about that they had to build the alien ship with almost no notice. But
that was a good looking ship, I thought.
Costumes. Yeah, I did too.
Couple of glances at it, but yeah, would like to get a better look at it. The Super Swift is actually the name of an aircraft. It's changed manufacturer a couple of times. But Global was the name of one manufacturer, and they made a Swift and a Super Swift, and I put one of those in the chat. But they're little low wing, all metal airplanes produced after World War II with a lot of World War II fighter technology baked into them. They're still flying today. Yeah, cool little airplane.
Neat. So around the Spruce Goose period, or Spruce Goose was before that.
I think that was bigger. That was a bigger plane.
That was bigger.
I'm just thinking of infamous planes.
Okay.
And that
Yeah,
sure
but
is
my,
an infamous plane.
Our chief flight instructor, simulator instructor at Purdue University had a Swift that he flew around. Good guy, man.
I'm looking at a picture of it, and it is the chromiest chrome I've ever seen.
I love me a good polished aluminum airplane, man. That is a good looking. That's a classic look.
Yeah, dude, for sure. You could like shave looking at the wing of that.
Kind of like the When World, the beginning of When Worlds Collide. If you guys remember that film, and the airplane the dude was flying around at the beginning of it, very kind of Art Deco, all chrome. Sweet looking thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when it goes to quote unquote Africa. Where you do not see any people of color.
That has definitely come up in trivia recently, and I cannot remember the connection. I'm sure someone's yelling at the podcast. But absolutely, yes, classic.
As far as the first of the two episodes, I'm just kind of going by what I was observing. I got to shout out that the guy flipping out in records and then burning to death was a baller scene.
Yes, that was very aggressive. Apparently, that was.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't put him in the trivia because there was some weird stuff back and forth about who that was. I think it was a stunt person, and it was called archival footage in IMDb, and I don't know if that means that they had filmed it previously and inserted it into the episode or what. Does anybody know any more than that about it?
I think he was in an archive, so that's why it's archival footage.
Oh, of course.
Is that really what you think, Brian? Is that really?
Well, the fact is he had video or film of the aliens, and the aliens wanted it destroyed because I guess they're afraid that anybody watched the video outside of their influence, they would see them, right?
Right.
So that's why they had to destroy. They got very nervous every time a camera showed up.
Yeah, but I do think archival footage is an industry term for, something that's canned that, you can repurpose.
Right. So it's a little strange the way they used it in that sense.
Yeah, it might be a little Now this guy comes rolling out of this, door into the hallway. There's a bunch of people standing around, including two firefighters. So I'm guessing now things were starting to get a little jumbled in my head, but they knew this guy there was a fire situation before that, right? Or they weren't just happened to be standing there.
I think he was already setting things on fire at that point.
Okay.
That's why they summoned the firefighters.
Gotcha.
I think they got in the right
order.
order.
It just starts fires.
Although,
Yeah.
They're just two
like,
guys in suits all the time on the moon base. Just
that's kind of what it seemed like to me. I was like, oh, that's good that they were there, but I guess they called them. Have you all been keeping score on Dr. Helena's status reports and number of days since departing Earth's orbit?
I had a big what when part 2 started.
I
Continue with
did
that
too, man. Because I just made a jot. And they're like, oh, 900 something days. So it's getting on 3 years. And then it's part 2 was 25. It went from 1912 at the beginning of part 1 to 2,515 days since leaving Earth orbit. In
so
number
the
2.
aliens has been chilling for a year and a
just
half.
like
Tony's been screaming on restraints for a year and a half in medical.
I thought TOS star dates were bad. This should be cut and dried, very straightforward, but they can't seem to do it.
I know what a day means. I can handle a day.
I missed that. That is insane.
No, my note is just these day counts make no damn sense. So
yeah,
I'm like 2 years. That's worse than the guy in 7 who was stuck in bed that long.
So I
third
guess
or fourth
mind control.
Helena used the third or fourth time that Helena's used anesthetic in some form or another, either in the hypo or gas or something. It's like throw anesthetic at it or at the problem. I think they were using.
Oh, she was definitely like drug pusher McCoy on this one. Yeah, I was chuckling at that myself.
And there are always these little tubes that they screw into a socket on the wall, push a button, and it floods the whole base. I guess this one little tube.
Okay, I think I've cracked this mystery. Is that it shows it as archive footage in episode 2 because episode 2 he's already dead, but he's not credited in episode 1. So that was the
oh, okay,
that's the mystery. And that guy Nick Hobbs was in Life Force, dude.
Right.
He was a stuntman. He was a stuntman. Oh, he's a stuntman in a lot of things, including Life Force.
Ancillary Space 1999 viewing list would be what? The Omen, Life Force, and we got anything else that needs to go in there?
He was in Rogue One. Yeah.
Star Wars.
Wow. Yeah, Star Wars. Yeah, filming next door.
Yeah. And now it says on his IMDb page, it says medical security guard uncredited. So that makes me wonder if he's actually Kander or if he's another guy. So this is just a mess. And
we'll just watch your brain explode.
Nah!
Did we have more than one like prisoner actor show up in this show yet?
Yeah, we've had
a few prisoner guys. Yeah,
not as many as you might think, since British TV is very if you're on British TV, you're on British TV. That's
and
like
low grade too. Yeah, right.
Any of these people ever been on The Doctors? Do you think?
A lot of them.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
I'm kidding. There were, I think last week we had the writer of, maybe last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, the guy had written like 60 episodes of Doctor Who and a bunch of novelizations.
And they accidentally hired him. Yes. Hired him by mistake.
That was a weird one.
Yeah. So the second episode, of course, has a lot more of the actual hallucinations, and now we have to make even bigger excuses for the mind control stuff. Like, these guys think they're in Central Park in canoes when they're in spacesuits dealing with atomic fuel.
And that is such, it turns into a real, it just stretches out further and further. It was like, one of the things that I was really confused about is, how did they know to try and let the air out of Koenig's spacesuit? Like, if they're doing all this, if they think they're running around riding
because I guess one of the things that I think about it now is that if it was, you know, second by second, minute by minute matched, then it would really make no sense. But if it was like that alien explained at the end, like, this is a lifetime within, you know, a few minutes, basically, then, you know, you get from Central Park to the woods outside Pinewood Studios to trimming your hedges in your uniform, I guess, because that's what people do when they make it home after being on Moonbase Alpha in the future. That all those things may have happened from their perspective over the course of several months or years. So yeah, man, it's I'm good with it. It's just a nice trippy.
Do these pilots have an inner light experience and sleepwalk while they were doing it?
Maybe.
The only counterpoint I'd have is, it might have been more fun if it showed them playing a prank on someone and letting air out of their tires in the hallucination, but they're really like letting the air out.
So there's some physical connection with what their hands are doing.
Yeah, I would have liked. I mean, you could almost play that for comedy, you know?
Yeah, or like doing you know, doing some sports stuff with your kid, where you're you know, blowing up an air mattress, letting air out of an air mattress, going on a camping trip with your smoking hot blonde wife or girlfriend or whatever. It's Alan Carter, man. He can get whoever he wants.
Banana.
You know what I love doing in my hallucinations is listening to public domain music on my hi-fi stereo.
I mean, I would have loved it if they showed, like, you know, how they were in the go-karts with the hot blonde lady. I would have loved it if they just cut to them in the moon buggy and one of those creepy aliens was just in the moon buggy with them. Like, that would have been really fun. But so I hate to backtrack to episode 1, but we haven't really gone over the whole weird sexual tension thing. Do you think that Tony requires Guido to be there to actually commit to Maya? Is he only interested in Maya when he has the competition of his own brother? And does he want his brother to watch? And does he want to watch his brother?
And how many elephants banged one of these aliens? More than one, I bet.
What, they had like 500 days, that right?
They banged the alien.
And then they were like, they didn't move the way I remember them moving.
It's more like a block of goop.
The sad thing is statistically, at least somebody probably has a fiance who just lies still.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, there's some the sexual tension is weird and hilarious, because it's like Alan is suddenly trying to hit on everyone's everything, everyone's
everything all at once.
Yes.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I did have the note that Alan Carter is surprisingly horny in this episode.
Yeah, we haven't really seen that side of him before, and it's sort of like, don't you have people on Alpha you could do this?
He had a little bit of that going on in season 1, I think. There were a few episodes where he was.
I think the aliens just know which buttons to press, especially with respect to Alan.
It's like he wanted Sandra at some point, but Paul more wanted her, or I can't remember the exact
something along those lines.
There's something there.
He's only a jealous lover. If it's an easy catch, he's not into it.
I kind of feel like Paul was more jealous, but I'm not really sure. But there's also the dumb thing where Paul only opened up when they were able to leave the moon base and, you know, frolic on the beach. And
right. He was a little. He exploded because he was pent up so tight.
Yeah,
That's why he's not in season 2.
that's right. That's right. Oh.
By the way, this is of course tying in Landau 20 years later, but when Tony shot him, he went like full Bela Lugosi for a shot or two. I thought that was kind of cool. Or maybe it's just I've seen Ed Wood so much I recognized Martin Landau before I actually recognized the real Lugosi. I don't know. Nah, I've seen Plan 9. Well, he's not in Plan 9 that
What
much.
did he do?
I've
Like
seen
Tens Up or something. I'll have to look this up.
It was just such an incredibly serendipitous casting. It's like it's not, he didn't just win the Oscar because he was great in that movie. He won the Oscar because he was the most perfect person for that role. Like it was unbelievable. Like how I would love to know the story of how they decided like to use him, because it was just such an
I like
incredible
the fact they didn't do any prosthetics on him. He just contorted his face until he looked like Bela Lugosi.
and
Yeah.
then when they find the security guys, they knock out the security guys, and this gun was on kill. They don't change the setting. It's like whatever, it's on kill. It's on kill now. It's on kill now.
It's on kill now. Put it in your pocket.
He just wants everyone to know that he was right about them. He's like, hey, see, they're trying to kill us. Remember how I knew they were aliens and you didn't? Look at this. It's on kill. Look at this.
But he could have done that. Yeah. Okay. I didn't. I did nothing to it. You just have to trust me. Trust me because I'm always correct.
Strangely, it does. I guess it just does work for me in this instance because it's this case where they, there's an explanation for him knowing everything and that he was hooked up to a machine, even though they apparently made him crazy in the beginning because they were afraid of how strong a leader he was. But still, it's not an egregious example of Koenig always being right, even though he is always right in these episodes for sure.
At least he was fun crazy, right?
Yeah, and he got to scream a lot of things.
Do we think it was the Ellendorf quadraphonic brain massage that made him able to see their true forms?
It's hard to say because I feel like they've had episodes where he would have been able to see them with no explanation other than like, I'm Koenig.
Yeah, wasn't it Guardian of Piri where he was just the only person who wasn't crazy and it was never explained in any way?
Well, the books explained it slightly, but yes, the show did not.
But the thing is that they hooked Maya up to the machine, even though they didn't show them hooking Maya up to the machine, but it was expositioned, and then she could see all the aliens. So that did the.
It suggests that the treatment that was a side effect of the treatment. Yes, it makes you impervious from this mind control.
Yeah, it comes back to they were trying to kill Koenig at the beginning, and it made me think that they already know he was going to be a problem.
Oh, he's a strong leader. That's what they said.
Yeah,
strong
leader.
Strong leader. You got to get rid of that leader.
But then it just boils down to them repeatedly hitting him with the moon buggy at 2 miles an hour. That's
like
not going to do much.
Austin Powers style. What you got to remember, Brian, is that these aliens, they have the minds of geniuses and the instincts of vultures. Like that's what makes them so dangerous. So dangerous.
And
I was just thinking that the moon buggies were not built by Elon Musk. They wouldn't have survived like 1 or 2 hits on that door.
And Elon Musk is dead in this timeline, I think.
This is where I wasn't so concerned about the Kendo transformation, but this one, she transforms. Where'd the spacesuit go? And at first I'm like, okay, maybe just destroyed it. And then it comes back. So she turns into a creature that can breathe in a vacuum and then returns to being in a spacesuit. It's like, wouldn't there have been a pressurization problem or something at some point?
Well, also, I mean, does that explain away any time that she's ever had trouble breathing? Because there's been that, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when she was a methane monster, she had a bit of trouble. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
turn into that.
Yeah, this episode was actually bugging me more about that because of that sequence, because we're in a vacuum and she's in a spacesuit and what?
but that thing was so big, man. It was a big giant hoss and it just threw people. It was cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh, of course I want to see the giant dumb monster. I mean, this is a nice chock full of giant dumb monsters, which I guess that's a late season 2 trademark, so
yeah.
But I will go with that. Let's see. The editing. This was another one we meant a few weeks ago or whatever, episodes ago. There was that thing where the editing made it unclear that that guy got murdered, right?
Yes, so
And
they
this
cut
one,
away really fast.
yeah,
So
and
they
this one, the editing actually made me think that Alan blew himself up for a moment. You know, I mean, I didn't. I mean, I didn't really think that Alan was dead, but I was like, as far watching the show, it looks like he just exploded.
Yeah, definitely did. The aliens, they said that's an insignificant term, a pygmies term. And I was like, whoa, hey, whoa, easy
Oh,
there,
we've heard
pal.
that word before. We heard that Megas used
in
that
New
word.
Adam, New Eve, which
Oh
was the
yeah,
other
yeah.
episode this guy wrote, when
Because
the guy says deceitful pygmies.
right, because Brian sent me a note being like, "Should we edit that?" And I was kind of like, "Well, they said in the episode, so I think it's
Yeah.
as they
I
did
felt
in this
bad
one."
after the
So
fact. I thought I don't mean to insult anybody by referring
Yeah,
to
the
them.
first thing I thought was, whoa, dude.
Yeah, no.
I guess I didn't notice it because they'd already done it.
Yeah, I didn't catch it this time around. Good catch.
Yeah.
But I won't. I think you've got a great question for the end of this episode when you get to it, because I think it was kind of answered for you by the alien.
Well, I was like, this is pretty much the cipher argument from the Matrix, right?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Uh-huh.
Or
fake
the
steak
menagerie
better?
or the cage.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
in the cage, it was better to live your life as a free man than live in a cage. But in the menagerie, it was better to live your life in a cage than in a wheelchair.
Right. And the Matrix is like, hook me up,
Mm.
man. Get me
I
back in there,
mean,
please.
you could.
I
I
want
mean,
some
the
more steak. I
Matrix.
got to eat more steak.
Mm. I
Fake
mean, the
steak.
Matrix has a lot of messages for everyone, to be honest. But it's like, yeah, a lot of people choose every day to go home and eat a steak and sit on the couch and not, I don't know, not do a lot of things.
I don't think I've
And
ever eaten a steak on a couch.
I probably have.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
That is LIVIN, my friend. Living.
So as far as I'm just going down reading my snarky notes because it's fun. Just to reiterate, I like this episode a lot. But the
Yeah.
climax where they're stopping them from blowing up everything is it was like the Benny Hill version of the China syndrome was my note.
I think that I laughed a lot at the fact that that Helena decided to knock everyone out with gas with no warning, so people are just walking down the hallway and they fall over. Like, someone absolutely could have died from that. Like, that could have
They
been
have a PA system. They do have a PA
Folks, sit
system.
down.
Yeah.
Take a seat.
It's like, God, that's
hurtful.
so
Yeah,
irresponsible.
that's kinda nuts.
And it's kind of a stretch, even the thought that, oh, the aliens are still here because they're using people's brainwaves. Like, I don't know. Do you know that? They could have stored energy.
I guess our
somewhere.
brains would produce a small amount of radiation. Our bodies would create a small amount of radiation. Maybe they're feeding off that.
Back to the Matrix, man. It produces some energy.
Mm.
That's like body heat, and probably
We're all just
methane.
batteries.
They probably are using people's farts a lot. Like
Right.
methane.
No,
'Cause,
those
you
are the
know,
methane. I was about to say those are the methane creatures that would.
yeah, they don't show you in the movie the thing they put up your butt, but it's there. It has to be. There has to be something up your butt. There's no way there isn't.
I guess I'll roll into our question here, but you guys want to throw out some big points, especially if it's an episode 2 or a 1. I guess it don't matter. Don't matter.
O'Brien is fond of asking what people's favorite line is, and my favorite line is, "Get that out of here! Get it out of here!"
Just get it
He
out of
just
here.
starts screaming, "Get it out of here!"
I did not write any quotes this week, just to
Well,
chase you on that question.
also, when they appeared, and Tony was like, "Shoot them now! Kill them!"
I think my favorite line of this, because it stuck with me for years, was, "I haven't had this much fun since I burned grandma's wig," which means John Koenig has to be a douche. A couple of other points I want to make. Alan said he met Diana at a conference or something, some function at MIT. So it kind of makes sense that John Koenig would have gone to MIT. Doesn't make sense that Diana would have gone to MIT. It might, I guess. Sure.
Seemed to
could
be
be
a
a-
doctor or a scientist.
She was a
Maybe.
navigation specialist, I think they called her. So yeah, sure.
You can have
But
man-eater
yeah,
scientists.
yeah. Then it just a barracuda scientist. And then there was whatchamacallit? Then there was the speaking of that, it would have been funny if Maya turned into a barracuda instead of whatever she did. But I think when Tony asked Maya what happened, and she said, I hit him with my stick, and he didn't know because he was sleeping through the whole thing. So I thought that was a good honorable mention line.
Hit me with
That's
your
a good
rhythm
one.
stick, yeah. So we of course like to break down how much is sci-fi. No, this is not sci-fi fun. This is hardcore versus softcore. I got
Hardcore versus
distracted though, didn't
softcore.
I? So this one I went back into the season one mind frame a little bit. I guess there is some dread here, but I do
Yeah.
think that it pertains more to the hardcore versus softcore, which I guess I'll go first. And because the mind control and all that stuff in here is so goopy and weird. I mean, this is 20% at best if we're gonna put, for me, if we're gonna consider hard science. I mean, the ships are hallucinations. It's all hallucinations. Oh, I do have to throw out, I love those shots of the aliens just standing around on the moon. Those were nice and creepy, which were the cutouts, as Mark mentioned. But
Those were
it
good.
worked.
Yeah.
It looked good.
Those did look
shots were
good.
awesome.
I thought it was like an alien rave going on out there on the lunar
Right.
surface.
So 80% on the soft side for me. Although to be honest, there's no reason except for Alan being horny. There's no much reason to really, I guess, say soft chord this week. You know, we didn't get the solarium. Sorry, Mike.
I'm gonna say, because honestly, everything there technically could happen. Okay, you could say mind control is soft sci-fi, but mind control is technically possible. I'm gonna say that there's an overlap, and I'm gonna say it's 69% softcore and 69% hardcore.
Okay, sure, why not? Well, I'm just
Well
thinking,
done, sir.
I was
And
just
for
thinking-
that, I say nice.
I would try to keep up the ruse that I was going to be really serious, and it just fell apart immediately.
Okay, would anyone like to disagree with Mark, or are we just gonna follow?
It's good, but I was so excited about the sci-fi fun versus. I think this is the first season 2 or series 2 episode that I've guested on. So I was ready for sci-fi fun versus
Well,
existential dread.
you can
which
do
was
that.
basically
You're welcome to do
the
that.
question that the alien called them. I don't think ever get. Do they ever get names? Do they ever get a species
I
name?
don't think so.
No.
Yeah. They said, would you
Bringers.
rather have a lifetime of just fantastic good times, trimming hedges and riding around in a dune buggy and stuff like that, or what you have now, which is nothing but, and I thought the words actually existential dread was going to come out of their their mouth hole. So I kind of chuckled at that a little bit, but yeah, lots of existential dread in this one. Softcore versus hardcore sci-fi though. Yeah, I cannot top, add, or do better than what Mark said.
Well, give us your dread numbers then.
59.
You can do that.
31.
Give it a red number.
Oh, percentages each. Oh God, 90, 95, 10,
Nice.
95,
Dread.
5. Excuse me.
Dread. Lots of dread.
95.5.
Lot-
I think
yeah,
it means
yeah,
fun.
95 dread, 5% fun.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, because
That is very interesting.
I would definitely. I don't know. These aliens are so dumb looking in a way I love that I can't dread them. You know.
I mean, it was a tense episode. It was a tense couple of episodes, but it also was fun. It did such a nice overlap of did everything really. I feel like
I
this
think
is
I'd
Swiss
be
Army knife.
uncomfortable in a room with these costumes.
Yeah, you know what? I was actually
Yeah.
thinking from an Alphan point of view, not a viewer point of view. From a viewer point of view, I think it was a barn burner. But
Yeah.
from an Alphan point of view, they were like Koenig was actually fighting to hold on to the existential dread. Like the goal was, I want my existential dread. I need my existential dread. It makes me who I am.
Doesn't roll off the tongue quite as well when you do it that way.
Yeah,
does
it really doesn't. Somebody else would have done that much better. Had I thought of it more than 8 seconds ago, I might have done better too.
Well,
Well,
Brian, you want to
Brian,
say
what-
numbers about something? You want, and you know that's like 8 questions
well,
at once.
I think it's kind of low on the hard sci-fi. One of the aspects that I liked was some of the model work and stuff on the lunar surface. We got to see more of the lunar surface, including the alien rave that was going on out there. I always kind of wonder what happens. Are they really just going to sit there and absorb the energy when the dump goes up? Or are they going to get blown off into space? Because one of the astronauts said, we could have blown up the whole planet. And it's like, well, everyone was on the planet, including the aliens. So
the moon, you
wouldn't
idiot.
they have also gotten? Yeah. Yeah, it's not a planet, it's a moon. That was the other
planetoid, I think.
Anyway.
But the bigger question about the waste dumps is, I thought they were gone now. Wasn't that the whole reason we're here in the first place? They blew up all the waste dumps. Why is there one still left? No, it's the other waste dumps. Area 3 that we never talked about.
I guess the moon is now a planetoid, as it is not orbiting anything.
A rogue moon.
Yeah.
Well, I figure that whatever I figure they're putting their own nuclear waste in that particular waste dump, which is why it's very snazzy and it's very spacious on the inside with multiple airlocks and doors. It was much bigger than anything we've seen before. But I always thought
almost
that
looked like Alpha.
Wow, man, it would have been really cool if they gave these, since they had 2 hours to do it. They could have given the aliens some backstory, like, actually, we saw all this. We saw the explosion that knocked you out of orbit, and we were like, damn, we wish we were in that explosion, and we found you.
I kind of like the fact that we don't know anything about these aliens. This is one where I'm actually willing to accept that there is zero explanation behind these guys.
But it's
going back to
really
the
scary, right? I mean, everyone you love is here, and they're all big monsters. It's pretty scary. The people you thought you would never see again.
Going back to the novels, there's this story plus Lambda Factor were put into one book, and the author tried to tie them together in that there was a alien intelligence behind both the Lambda cloud thing and this, but it's been so long since I read it, I don't know the details, but some attempt to explain the origin of these aliens, because it's very much a blank slate as to what their history is, other than what they tell us and even who they are. But to get back to the numbers, I was going to kind of go with Matt's, like 20% hard, 80% soft sci-fi, because it's got mind control, it's got rubber monsters, it's a romp, it's fun to watch, it's everything Fred Freiberger probably wanted. It's got fist fights, some explosions, some monsters,
and a Guido,
and some humor. Oh, and I should throw in 5% soft core sci-fi just for the girls back in the Earth hallucination and the kayak and everything.
Yeah, they could have gone Love Grotto. They didn't do that. It's too bad. So I guess we'll wind this one down for the day. Mike, you've been talking Ted, you've been talking Orville. You got any upcoming plans?
I think John was able to record our panel discussion at STLV, so that'll come out as a supplemental. Just floating around doing some other looking at some other shows, and Jessica and I have floated some ideas to John and Rod. So I think it's basically a go, just looking for the right sponsorship partner. And I think Mission Log, the Orville, is going to sort of evolve into something like Mission Log Auxiliary Control, or Mission Log something, where we look at other shows that are Star Trek adjacent. And they'll kind of all come out on the same feed. So when we'll do that to where we can cover a season of this or a season of that until the Orville comes back. But I think that's sort of the plan right now, to kind of keep things going. But shows like Battlestar Galactica, For All Mankind, are certainly on the table. Shows that kind of feature Star Trek alums doing other things. Even where Michael Piller went on to be showrunner on The Dead Zone would be kind of nice, because that has Joe Menosky, some episodes written by Joe Menosky, and some other things there. So yeah, those are the kind of things we're looking at exploring, because even if they start filming today for the Orville, and obviously they won't, we're not going to see a season 4 for quite some time.
I gotta say, I watched most of Ted. I'm in the process of watching Ted, mainly because you guys are doing the podcast on it, and it's great. If anybody's wondering if that show's worth your time, it's great.
I went back and watched the first movie, and I was like, yeah, this isn't as good as the show.
Yeah,
I think the show's better.
Yeah, I think the show is better. It's like it reminds me of like how I remember Married with Children being when I was younger, which is the high compliment for me personally.
Yeah, it's fun, and what it really brings to the table too is that it's set in that Johnny's junior year of high school, which is 93, 94. So 30 years in the past. So it definitely has some nostalgia. Definitely has some I remember that music. I remember that that commercial on TV. They lean heavily into the pop culture zeitgeist of the time. So I think that adds something that Ted the movies didn't have. And it kind of just gives everything a little bit more of a chance for those relationships to develop. Not that it's a super serious show, but it's a fun show, and a lot of that referential humor pays off over the 7 episodes. Season 2 is in production right now.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Hell yeah. So you want some good comedy, go have Ted, and then go listen to Talking Ted. Talking with a G.
Thank you, sir. Talking Guido. I mean, Talking Ted.
Yes, talking coming soon. Talking Guido.
Hey. As for us, we're on Patreon at Podcastius. You can hear this with some extra blather. Actually, you can hear some more of Mike on some of our other podcasts, such as Films and Filth, where we talk about really good movies and really bad movies as rated by IMDb users. Time Enough Podcast, where we talk about Twilight Zones, and everybody here sometimes shows up on those, or often, depending on who you are.
Season 4 has all of us, and it's a short season.
Yep, short.
How long
short a
episodes.
season? Too short a season. Okay. I think I'm gonna pull in this canoe now and frolic in the park for a bit.
All right.
I'm gonna go put my uniform on and trim the hedges.
I'm gonna go some public domain music on my stereo.
I'm gonna go slowly shuffle down a hallway in pursuit of another giant blob.
Did my explosion come through? I think when you make that noise into this microphone, it just doesn't take it at all.
Oh, sorry.
Explosives?
I was trying to make my explosion
really
noise.
loud spike might have not made it through.
Yeah. I'll just add in a sound if I feel like it, or maybe
I noticed I played the ukulele once. I couldn't hear it at all in the playback.
Zoom is a cruel mistress.
Yeah, there's a very nice thing where but yeah, if you want to make weird sound effects, sometimes it doesn't pick up on your mic, which is too bad.
Well, it's nice that every time someone is like, "Hey, there's people working in my yard," I hope it's not a problem. I never hear it ever. I never hear anything.
Mike hit me up with your season 5 Twilight Zones. I'm starting to make the list on those. Just DM me those, I guess. And I'm going to start recording those. I'm taking a month break for that podcast. And
passing that list around, or are you just asking for everybody and just adding to the main
I'm
list?
just asking for suggestions.
Okay.
I told you.
Oh my god.
No one else requests the masks though, because Mark, did I tell you my plan for the masks?
All I need is $55,000 and I could have a Swift. Sorry, what was your what was your plan for the masks? I don't know what it was.
Like everyone has requested the masks, so I'm just going to invite 4 guests and tell them to wear masks.
Oh, you don't know who they are?
Well, maybe the listener won't know who they are. But I'll know who they are. I invited them.
I really intended to watch season 5 ahead of time so I could request episodes, and I have not done that yet.
No.
So
okay.
Oh, wow.
I think you're taking a little break anyway, right? For a few weeks, so.
Yeah, you have time to do it if you want.
Yeah, you have time.
We'll see.
Mike, probably in about a month, late August, maybe. Are you still interested? I mentioned the anime Your Name we talked about a little while ago, which are you familiar with? Which I thought I dragged you. No, it's when you talked about Perfect Blue, and I was like, hey, here's another anime you should do. So and it's a very sci-fi mind-bending anime. So.
Oh, it sounds cool. Yeah, I'm watching. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
I was gonna say it's another anime that's not a typical anime topic anime. Like,
okay, right? And one more time, the name of it is. I'll put it on my watch list right now.
Your Name. And I have to tell the story.
Is that YOURE name?
Yes.
YOUR. It's not.
I'm just fucking with you guys.
Okay. I was
it's called Mike Richards. It's the name of the episode. Is Your Name.
I'd always be the first out of the spelling bees. They'd be like, spell cat. I'd be like, BAT. I mean, no, I spell cat, but just like, my brain, it comes out.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a kid that Luke has mentioned in podcast, the really crazy but smart, difficult 10-year-old that we teach sometime. I don't teach him often, but he was there. It was summer school. And one of the new teachers goes up and says, kind of like, "What's your name?" Like kind of like very teachery. And he responds this way, "Your name is fuck you." I was like, oh my God. With the double-barreled middle fingers. And I had to go into the next room because I was giggling too hard. I was like, I can't show that. I thought that was funny as hell.
God, that was amazing.
Never occurred to me that you could respond to "what's your name" with that answer,
It was like when an insult started circling among my friends that I sort of intentionally crafted to make no sense, which was "fuck you and die," which doesn't make any sense, but we just started saying that.
Yeah, sure, why not? It works. I'm gonna go ahead now that we've put some obscenities for the Patreon listeners. I will hit the recording button.